What's up, y'all? It's JC. If you're new, welcome to the channel. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. And please hit that like button if you want to see the channel grow, man. You may see some sponsors in the corners in a couple of months or so. You never know, man. We're about 900 subs away from 9K subscribers, and I'm excited about that, man. Just I'll continue to put the work in, man. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. I rock with y'all. But anyways, let's get into the topic, man. NBA free agency kicked off yesterday. Of course, there were a lot of deals being, a lot of deals were striked. And it was a trade that went down. Trade went down. The Denver Nuggets sent Michael Porter Jr. and an unprotected 2032 first round pick to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for Cam Johnson. Now, initially when that trade went down, it caught some folks off guard. Uh, you know, for me, the Nuggets were going to make a move. I knew they were making more, just didn't know who. Was it going to be Jamal Murray? Was it going to be, Aaron Gordon? Was it going to be Michael Porter Jr.? It turns out it's MPJ. So they sent MPJ to the Nets. Of course, we know he has a big contract. He was a big he played a big role in the championship run a couple of years ago. He had during the playoffs, he did suffer a sprained AC joint, if I'm not mistaken. Shoulder wasn't 100%. He played through it, but his production just wasn't there. So you get Cam Johnson. Now, both of these players, regular season, their numbers are extremely similar. So if you're just looking at the stats, right, you're like, why is MPJ being traded for Cam Johnson? But it's a little more context to that, right? So of course I mentioned the big contract. I believe MPJ makes about 17, 18 mil more than Cam Johnson. So what the Nets are doing, they're basically taking on a big contract, um, you know, and they get a pick. So, they're taking on a big contract and they're getting compensated with a pick as well. What the Nuggets are getting, they free up cap. They give flexibility. So this is at Yazi Goslin on Twitter. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He says the Denver Nuggets get significant flexibility by swapping MPJ for Cam Johnson. 40 million saved. They get under the luxury tax. They open up about 14.1 million mid-level and 16.8 million trade exception, and more possibilities by getting under the first apron. So that's big right there, man. They, like I said, they give flexibility in which they can go out and make more moves. Now with MPJ, of course, you have the scoring, you have the three-point shooting, and he's a pretty good rebounder as well. With Cam Johnson, you swap out MPJ for Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson, of course, he can shoot as well. He's better defensively than Michael Porter Jr. and he's a better playmaker. Okay, so that's what you're getting. I think this was a good move for the Nuggets when you're looking at things from that perspective. And also, right after, not too long after they announced that MPJ Cam Johnson trade, they went out and got Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown, after that championship run, he went, he signed, he got paid, man, and rightfully so, man. He was that juice off the bench, man. He was like that point, that do it all, that Swiss Army knife. Bruce Brown is a tough player. He's a tough player. He basically he does whatever the coach, whatever the team needs. Bruce Brown, you can plug him in, he can provide that, right? He can guard, ones and twos and even some threes with his toughness. He's an improved shooter, right? Athletic, right? So he can do a little bit of everything. I think he played like that point forward position off the bench for um the Nuggets in that championship run. I know he's smaller. He's about what, 6'3", 6'4". But he's used in that forward position. He's played the forward in the past. So bringing back Bruce Brown is another good get. So you add Cam Johnson, you add Bruce Brown. One thing that the Nuggets kind of lacked was their depth, right? After that starting five is like who's going to provide like scoring, who's going to give you some energy off the bench. I know Russ uh, was in that role this past season, and it's looking like he may be on the move. Not on the move, but he may go to a different team in free agency. I know I saw some rumors that he may just sign back with the Nuggets, but then I'm seeing some New York Knicks talk. I'm not sure how much validity it is to that. They just signed Jordan Clarkson, but we'll see where Russell Westbrook ends up, and then you're kind of banking on other guys to develop, like Peyton Watson, if I'm not mistaken, that's his name, Watson. They got a couple of other young guys over there. You got Christian Braun, who I think he's a really good player. When you're looking at that starting five for the Nuggets, you got, of course, Jamal Murray. You're looking at Christian Brown. Now you insert Cam Johnson at the three. Still got AG, of course, Jokic. But then when you're looking at the bench, Bruce Brown coming off the bench, and then you got to kind of maybe, I think maybe they go out and get one more. They add one more, key rotational guy, maybe a front court guy, and to really help out that squad. But I like this move for Cam Johnson. They get free up that cap, more flexible, and you go out and try to improve this roster and get back to where they were try to get back to where they were a few years ago. Of course, now the West has gotten tougher. With the Rockets, of course, they found out in the playoffs when they lost to the Thunder, losing to the eventual NBA champions. But it is what it is. But always when you see teams trying to improve, that's always a good sign. Of course, you got Jokic. He's still in his prime. He's still playing at an MVP level. So you have to do your best job to surround him with, you know, players that complement his game. And I think Cam Johnson, like he averaged 18 points, shot around 40% from three on let's just be transparent, on a young Brooklyn Nets team who's in a rebuild mode. And when you're playing with Jokic, you're going to get, way better looks. He was probably the number one or two option on the Nets on the Nuggets. He's probably going to be that third or fourth option. He's going to get a lot of open looks on those kickouts. He's going to be, have way more space to navigate. So I like this move for the Nuggets. Those are my thoughts in the comments. Let me know yours.